Hello, welcome to another week of MMO Concept Art, and this week we'll be doing no concept art whatsoever. We're going to be looking at design documents. So let's go ahead and pull up Richard's here. How's it going, Richard?
It's going good. You?
Oh, hanging in there, another day.
Cool. So, yeah, for the purposes of keeping it simple, I tried to limit it to 3 powers for each, and for the most part, I succeeded. But this is actually part of what will hopefully, if we go with this, it'll become something that's a lot more in depth with a lot more options and powers to customize your character as you go through. But for the purposes of initial testing, these would basically be locked in place.
Okay, so you're envisioning them having all three attacks, or something like if you've given them 3 attacks, it's not it's not a thing of like choosing one of them.
Yeah,
Okay.
like the idea is eventually, if we go with separate items, then those items that you pick, whether it's a pistol or a staff, would determine the abilities that you have
Right.
as far as attacking. Sorry guys, give me 1 second please.
Sure. I- I'll just take over. I think I know what he's saying after. What
You
he
run with it,
believes,
Wolf.
what he believes now, I think it's crazy, but he believes that all of this is information that was handed down years ago by Planet Neptune. Now, the thing, not people, not aliens from Planet Neptune, but the planet itself, which is really bizarre. But I think this is where he's going with that, from the start. Now, maybe I'm reading a little into it. I don't know.
Maybe a
But
bit, just a bit.
Okay, I'm back. What
All
I
right.
miss?
You missed Wolf giving us a complete rundown of your plan without ever having seen any of
yeah,
it.
well, let's see if it's any different. Go. Let's. I'm pretty sure it's about the same. Very close.
Okay, I'm kind of curious to know what you were saying then.
Well, it had to do with Neptune handing down a lot of information, not the god, not the people, the actual planet. Things like that. Carry on.
Right, okay. All right. So yeah, for the initial tests, I basically figured on having 2 abilities that are related to the weapons that are being used, and then a third as a character-specific sort of class type ability. So in the case of the Staff Master, you've got a guy that he's the guy that has all the heavy armor. He's got, for the most part, melee
This is
attacks
human.
behind him. This is Alethian.
Okay.
So he would have the strike where he's basically hitting a target, and then you've got the staff blast where if he's surrounded by a bunch of bad guys, that'll kind of knock them back for a bit. So it gives him some breathing room if he needs it. And then he would have a defensive fighting ability that is toggled on and off, and basically that would encourage anybody nearby to more or less focus on him, so it's a little tanky without actually being a tank. And rather than getting smacked a bunch, he basically uses those techniques to parry and dodge, at least visually. So he won't be getting clobbered 50,000 times. And then, in the interest of having some form of basic healing for characters, I figured everybody across the board should have some sort of basic healing that will just affect them. And it's basically just enough to take the edge off and get the heck out of dodge if they need to.
I'm sorry, the defense thing, it encourages nearby enemies to attack this character.
Well, yeah. That's basically just an explanation for how the mechanic would work. not necessarily that defensive fighting is going to force everybody to attack them. It would basically be the NPCs that are more inclined to go after that character when he's doing that.
And by defensive, it basically means to defend the rest of the party. He'll draw. He'll draw the fight.
The AI character, the enemy AI characters will draw to him, and he will just fight more defensively.
Yeah.
Because when you say unlike parry, what do you mean?
There's a different skill that's not part of this document,
Uh-huh.
where the parry skill essentially just affects characters that the user is facing.
Because
Anybody that gets behind him would be able to attack without getting
right.
a counterattack initiated against them.
So you're saying that this guy, he attacks in all directions. Everybody who hits him, he'll attack back.
He'll
Is
have
that
the
following this?
potential. Yeah, he'll have the potential to turn around and smack
but
them around as well.
Only if the player decides to face them.
No,
The idea.
it would be like a percentage chance of doing
Oh.
damage to everyone around him in a counterattack. But the defensive part of the description really means that it's a form of defense for the team. He's drawing heat off everybody else.
Yeah.
And he's doing better. The parry is blocking and striking.
Essentially, yes, and it's more focused. It's not all around the character, and parry doesn't draw people in to fight. Parry would just basically deal with anybody in front of you, and if they're already attacking you, then you have the ability to use that skill to.
I wasn't talking about the skill. I was just talking literally what parry meant.
Okay.
So
Oh,
this
yeah.
guy is he's blocking, which means he's not getting hit for some of those characters, and then he's striking back. So he's also getting a strike in. Now, one thing I'm not sure is like that sounds neat, but I'm not sure if I necessarily want that. I mean, maybe I guess it depends on the situation, because the only thing that I'm concerned with is that takes it kind of takes the control out of like who you're attacking. So you're kind of fighting everybody. So it's like there could be somebody just has a little bit of health that you would go, I want to target on this one, but then you're parrying and hitting someone else instead.
Well,
Yeah.
he'd still be able to hit a particular target, wouldn't he?
Yes.
So it's like you would have your hit, you would have your strike, and you would hit who you're striking, and then you would have a time in between that where you could parry. So it's like an additional hit on some random thing.
This would be like
Yeah, I guess that would be cool.
yeah.
Yeah. It's not gonna take away your ability to strike certain targets.
Yeah.
It's basically just meant as a way to keep people busy. You can still focus on a particular target. It's just you'll have animations in between your attacks where you're dealing with these guys too.
Where instead of just getting hit by them, sometimes you're not getting hit and you're getting an extra strike in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Basically, when they hit you, there's a percentage chance that you will counterattack.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And basically that would be essentially unlike a directed attack that you're controlling. When you get that ability to do a counterattack against somebody, that's a free attack essentially.
Yeah. Oh, no. For the enemy AI, that's going to be around you, and that's going to be encouraged to attack. Does that mean that there's a calculation whether they will attack or just go on? They won't necessarily all swarm you, but some of them, they'll be like sort of like a roll of the dice to determine whether the odds are they're going to attack. be it,
I would say that yes, there's a chance that some might decide to pass you by and go after somebody else.
right.
But that might be the sort of thing where you directly target that person for your next attack, and that pulls them into the fight because now they're pissed at you. But that sort of thing, it would probably depend on the kind of character that you're dealing with. A tougher bad guy, for example, might have more of a resistance to being pulled into that.
Hey, have you played a MOBO yet? You were talking about
I messed around in League of Legends
League
for
of
about
Legends?
20 minutes.
but did that help you get a more of a handle of what's going on?
Yeah, it gave me some ideas. I do think we can play around with the basic concept to do our own thing. From what I can tell, most of the stuff that was in there was pre-placed, for example. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I think we could probably expand on that later on, once we're past the KISS stage, and maybe introduce some classes that would place their own stuff.
But that's another conversation.
Yeah. So, yeah, for the mage, that's essentially the range damage dealer, the specialist for the Alethians. So they'll have the fireballs and all that kind of stuff to throw at people at range. And there's a separate version of that ability. One thing I was thinking is having switch powers. So rather than activating a power and throwing a fireball at somebody, if you pressed that option, it would switch between two or more configurations of that option. So one might...
I'm sorry, which one are we talking about?
So we're talking about, at this moment, the primary attack for the fireball.
Uh-huh.
So version 1 would be a single target. You throw a fireball at them. Anybody that's nearby, they get splashed by some of that damage. And then an alternative, if you wish, would be to switch over to an AoE type effect where you lob several fireballs and you affect an area rather than a single target.
Well, why wouldn't you just have that as another skill, or not a skill but ability?
Well, that was one possibility, but I also wanted to have different elements and different ways to use those elements. So,
well, yeah, I mean, because I think it would be nice that you could. I wouldn't want you to be able to do both at the same time. You would do one, and then you would have the cooldown which would go for both of them. So you have to decide whether you want to.
Yeah, it wouldn't be
do a lesser damage, but area affecting more guys, or a more powerful one.
It wouldn't be an instant switch, no. But the idea would be, you realize at the last second as you're about to throw a fireball, oh, there's a whole bunch of guys there. You could switch and then launch the AoE version of that. Again, that's past the KISS stage. But for now, I just basically set up the primary for a single damage to target, and you splash damage to anyone that's close by. And then for the freezing blast,
you mean like directly adjacent to him?
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah, it wouldn't be a massive area of effect for the splash damage.
Yeah, I think. Well, if you're just talking that direct one where you're hitting one guy, I think you should have to be like right on, right beside him, and not.
Yeah, like I said, that would be a pretty small area of effect for that type of damage.
Yeah. All right. Freezing blast.
Yeah, so for the freezing blast, that's going to be basically a cone of effect, and I avoided the numbers because that's something we can play with later.
Yeah, we can't handle numbers right now.
Yeah.
If you mean damage numbers, or
damage numbers or area of effect, that sort of thing.
Yeah, we can't. We have to play with that. We can't.
Yeah,
they're too abstract at this point.
Exactly. So yeah, for the freezing blast,
That's
essentially,
1,000,000 points of damage.
That might be a little excessive.
But not
Unless they have
like
70
10
million hit
billion.
points.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't think we have that many hit points.
I hope not.
But
Okay, go on.
yeah, for this one, essentially, it's a more or less a control power. It's designed to slow people down that are coming in, so that this guy can get some distance if he needs to.
Yeah.
And I was playing around with the idea down the line, if we implemented something that would allow characters to stumble or fall, then this could be a secondary attribute applied to that. But yeah, that's later. And there's an ability that I was going to set up for the human snipers that is essentially calling in an airstrike. And I figured that for missions where it takes place near a dragon den or near wherever the heck they live, then this ability could come into play for these characters, that they can actually call dragons in to do the same sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that might be cool in the open world MMO part, but for the MOBO, did I say that right? MOBA?
MOBA?
No.
MOBA.
Yeah.
There you go.
MOBO. MOBA. The blah blah blah. I'm just gonna call it the blah blah blah. It's easy. I think that I mean, I think it should just always be. You don't need to worry about dragon territory. It's just any map, because it's like you don't want to decide on your things and go, oh, what, this map isn't one of the oh, I can't use one of my buildings, great, you know. And it's like, meanwhile the humans are doing their airstrikes, and you know, it's like I don't think it doesn't make sense to me at all for that, but it might make sense in the open world. I'm not sure.
That's
But
true. Okay.
I think if it did, you would kind of have to, well, you'd have to balance it out. You'd either have to make the human airstrike not accessible in certain areas, but so I don't know. I guess if it was something like you were using it in your own territory, you could use like the dragon stuff, and then in the human territory they could use airstrikes or something to help defense or something. If you're going to do something like that, but it doesn't make sense to like say have humans can always do it, and sometimes you can do your ability.
Actually, I like that. The idea of territory control allowing that ability, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, but of course that's the open world. It doesn't
Yeah.
it doesn't work in this. Either needs to be something that works or not. I mean, it could be something that I don't know. I was thinking. I mean, there could be like it could be something that doesn't work at the beginning of the map or something. I don't know why, but I mean, there could be something like that. But it could be for like either. But I don't know. I mean, you would have to give it. Yeah.
Okay. I have
Everything
a
I'm thinking
suggestion.
is very complicated, and
What if we made certain abilities dependent on being in your base, and only one
Yeah.
person can trigger them? So this would be the sort of thing that someone could do Dragon Whisper at the Alethean base or an airstrike from the human base, but then once you leave that area, you have another ability that is applicable to this class.
Anytime you say just one person can do it, I get nervous because
I just mean that it would be a shared cooldown with the entire team, so that you don't
Right.
have 5 players sitting in the base spamming the airstrike.
right. You couldn't. Yeah, you would have to do something like that, but it's still like I don't know. I mean, maybe it's something that you would have to get
Or you
agreed
could
upon.
make it,
Because what?
you could even make it a really risky move to use, like where it could damage like both teams. So then it would be more like a danger close kind of thing, where you just don't do it when your team's out in the field because you
Oh.
could kill them off.
Oh, for the love of everything, nifty. Don't do that because anytime you have something that hurts your own team, that is just going to enrage people because there's going to be people who just don't know how to use it, or they're just, being trolls, and they just want to see, you know, your team um, get messed up, and so it's like that's a real good way to kill a game when I mean people are already there's so many people who are just like nasty in games and stuff, and that can have an effect about people wanting to play that anyway. But if you can actually just do damage to the team, and it's just okay, people are just you know what, it could have been a fun game, but I'm not going back there. I'm not dealing with that again. I don't need that stress. I don't need that, or that irritation.
Well,
I
the
mean, it's
risk of
just
the risk of friendly fire isn't something you can really just hand wave for the sake of griefing players.
well, you
And
kind
that's
of
just
can. It isn't in the other ones.
Yeah, friendly fire
Before.
is more of a first-person thing.
Yeah,
yeah.
it depends on the game. In a game like this, you have so many of those AI units and stuff, and it would just uh, and people would be assuming they would come in and they'd be assuming that it didn't do friendly damage, and they would go, "Oh, I'm got to protect our tower," and I'm gonna, "Oh no, I destroyed our tower," and the guys, it's just uh, it's bad enough that like somebody can use. See, this is where I really don't think it should be that powerful because I mean it sounds neat, and if you're like in a clan or something and you're fighting another clan and you're a team and everybody's working together, that could be neat. But with random people, somebody's just going to do it at an inappropriate time, and they're going to kill like one insignificant AI or something, and they go oops, and then everybody's going to be upset, and then it's like the other team's going to be doing it correctly, and
That,
it's like, okay, we lost because one person didn't know how to do it, and that's the person who ran back in the base and was really eager to
that
do
kind
it.
of ability, I will let it, sorry, what, but that kind of ability, I wouldn't give it to a character. I would, if I'm going to implement it, put it on an item. Like for example, in the human base, a character will have to go to a console and activate it or call
Yeah,
it in.
Okay. Yeah.
if you
Uh,
have to pay for it, if you have to pay for it enough so you go, okay, do I really want to pay for this and not get this and that, maybe so that then it won't screw up somebody else who doesn't directly who wants to do it as well, but then you'll do it, and then you'll be, you won't have any points um, to do
yeah,
another one. So something
I
like
mean,
that could work.
yeah, I mean, it's too powerful for a character to have. I will
That's true.
use this. The second I heard Dragon Whisper, I actually thought you were talking about a summoner.
Oh, okay.
Um, that could work. I mean, the summon is a small dragon, but yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I don't see that the airstrikes. I see the airstrikes really just being an a smaller thing, like an area of effect thing, where they just like there's a strip where you go, okay, I want you to attack here, and they go, and they drop some down, so it does this little area, um, uh, effect thing, and it's not this devastating, all powerful.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, it wouldn't be something to clear the map by any means.
Yeah, no, nobody was talking about it being like a mass
But
damage thing.
I do like the idea of setting that up so that it's controlled through another mechanic. And I have an option if we decide to do that. Um, one of the other things that I was thinking as a variant to this, instead of Dragon Whisper, would be a guy that slings runes, basically throws them onto the ground, and it basically acts like a mine. and then the sniper was going to have a tripwire mine that effectively does the same thing.
Yeah, I was thinking that like there could be I don't know if engineer or something, someone who could call in airstrikes, but I was thinking it was just like it'd be just like your fireball spell thing where it rains down in a certain area. It's not this massive, actual real world airstrike. It's just this. It's a cool effect. Maybe you can see it the ship flying over and it just drops boom 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 and it does that, and then it's like it does damage, but they're not all dead. They're just damaged a little, and it goes on. And I was thinking something more on that category, and if that was the how you do that, and a good, maybe a little bit more powerful and a big cooldown. But if you did that, then the Dragon Whisperer could do that as well. I mean, and it wouldn't be so out of place. It wouldn't be this massive thing.
Cool. Okay. Well, yeah, that's actually pretty doable because the ships that I was thinking would do this sort of thing, they're that sort of light fighter that I had sketched up a while back. And the ordnance they have on the wingtips, it's only 2 missiles. So you wouldn't have a whole massive stream of stuff incoming. It would just be, a couple missiles, maybe a couple shots from their guns as they fly past, that sort of thing.
Well,
It would look spectacular.
personally, I think I'd rather. I mean, yeah, that could work. I think I'd rather see a little carpet bomb thing. It's like a short carpet bomb thing, but it might. I don't know what kind of. I'm still not really sure what kind of scope as far as size everything's going to be taking, how mashed together it will be, and how not. So it depends on that. But it's like a little bit of, and you can do like the ship doesn't even have to be necessarily in real world proportions, but I mean it could be a drone for all
Yeah.
But I mean it's like, and
There.
just drop a few, just zoom 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 and then take off, and it could be cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
So we're good to go?
I think so.
All right.
Is it done yet, or
Nope.
no? Oh no, I guess we're not good to go. Sorry, Steve.
Okay. So for the healer, and keeping with the idea that I sort of wanted to show most of the elemental powers that these guys have, for his offensive ability, it was another switch power. It's either a lightning blast to target a single guy, or a cone of effect, sort of like the Emperor, to zap other people in the area, along with a chance to stun the targets. So for a few seconds or whatever, they won't be able to move. And as far as player characters, they would have an ability that allows them to break that stun, but it would only be triggerable like once every so many seconds. So they can't spam it, but if they end up in a really bad position and they get stunned at the worst possible time, they can hit that and get the heck out.
Another thing that would be helpful, and maybe we should do for next time or something, is to kind of think about what weapons they would have and how that you work, as in just the standard fighting, not the abilities. I was kind of picturing for most of the magic guys, for the Letheans, that they would have something like a staff with a crystal in it, or something like that they would like shoot their magic from, out of, and
Yeah.
and so that could also be used as doing less damage as a melee weapon. but like kind of concentrating on what that could be like would also help to in designing it as far as drawing it.
I do have a document that started, I started working on that. I stripped all that stuff out of this for the sake of the KISS phase, but once we move past that, that's definitely something I want to have in place. So, like, the idea is healer or staff master or whatever, you would choose what weapon you're going to use and sort of what your elemental specialty is going to be, and that would influence how your stuff works.
Yeah.
So yeah, this guy basically has the ability to, again, slow the progress of an advancing force long enough for assistance to come by. He's got the ability to heal and restore the stamina of anyone that's using their soulstone abilities. So, like, the stamina that you have to manage as an Alethian, they have the ability to replenish that in the same form as they can heal you if you're injured. And then for their ability, they have the quantum shielding, so they can provide additional protection for the people that are going out there to fight. So he's essentially the support character.
So, I'm sorry. I was daydreaming. I was thinking. I kind of missed that. I was thinking of how, if as far as the lightning thing, I was thinking like if maybe there was something else that could make a little rain cloud come over and make it rain down on units, and if you used it in conjunction with lightning, that it would do more damage or something. I'm sorry.
That's a possibility. Sorry, 1 second.
Okay. Let's see. Heal significant damage to an ally. Small percent chance to also apply damage mitigation. Replenish ally stamina. Yeah. That's another thing we'll have to figure out exactly how the stamina works. What's that about? Because I'm not necessarily sure.
Stamina would be like mana, or the opposite of the humans having limited ammunition.
Yeah.
And having to reload or re-ammo.
Yeah, but it's like you already like your melee guys. You already have an attack, and like you already have the cooldown on the special, the better attacks, stronger attacks anyway. So that's in a sense that kind of is the same as stamina to that cooldown. But it's like I don't know, like I don't see how stamina really would play into it for like the standard attacking.
Well, for like basic attacks, like smacking somebody with a stick, that wouldn't take up any stamina. But as soon as you start throwing spells and all that kind of stuff, that's going to use up. You're interfacing with that soulstone. And the idea is that they only have a certain amount of energy, and if you push them too far, the idea was you could injure or even kill the soulstone as a result.
But I don't think you can push them too far because there's a cooldown for all of your abilities. So that's stamina. So then the cooldown comes back, and then you're good to go. The cooldown is just another way of dealing with stamina or mana, or that. Like I don't really think you need both.
The cooldown is more there in these kind of games
to prevent
The
spamming.
cooldown is there to stop you from spamming. The energy is like resource management, so you have to manage that to be able to use your spells when you need them. And so it adds, like, there are two different cooldowns you have to watch for. There's one, am I going to run out of resources before I achieve my objective? And then the other one is just to stop you from being like, I'm going to hit this button really fast and kill you instantly.
Do they have that in things like League of Legends? Those two.
Almost every single game has both a resource management and a cooldown.
Huh.
It's just a case of figuring out the like the specific numbers, which we can play with. I mean, there's a strategy game called Company of Heroes, and there's a few different resources you have to manage, but one of them is munitions, which determines how many grenades and airstrikes and all that other kind of crazy stuff that you can order. But the rate at which you order them, you can potentially drop all that stuff fast enough that you will deplete your munitions, and then you can't do anything. So it's one of those things that it's an extra level of management that provides an additional challenge, and
Okay.
it's one that I think.
Yeah, it depends on how many. Like, if you have multiple skills, then it becomes necessary. Like, if you have, so it's like, yeah, maybe your fire is down, but your fireball spell ability, but you have 6 other ones that you can use, and then if you still like would just be spamming with that, but it's like, okay, you just used 2 of them back to back. Now you're going to have to wait before you can do a third. Is that what you mean?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm for that. I think
Sorry, Wolf, one
what,
sec.
what I can remember from playing that little bit of like that tutorial game of League of Legends, I didn't think there was another stamina. I thought there was so few skills that it's just they just kind of went on cooldown for.
At the moment, there's not a lot of skills to work with, but as the system progresses and we build onto it, it'll become a much more mixed bag of tricks that you can bring to the field.
Yeah,
That's
right. I would like that too, and yeah, if we do that, then you're definitely going to need a stamina thing. But then you do have to be careful with how much stamina, how often the healer can give allies more stamina. That has to be very realistic. Otherwise, you can still spam if you have a healer there, or if you have 2 healers or something.
okay. Sorry, I'm back.
I probably should say that again. I was just saying that you got to be careful with how having the healer or healers give that stamina then, because you definitely want to tone down their ability, like to give stamina back, because if they can do that too much, especially if you have 2 healers or something, then you go back to spamming. So
The
Yeah.
simple trick for that is just to make it cost more mana to give somebody mana than you get. Like, basically, you
Yeah.
lose mana a little bit when you're giving mana to somebody else. So eventually you'll both run out.
right.
And for healing, I could see for the Alethians having kind of an area of effect to heal, but the Revitalize, as far as restoring stamina, we could probably say that's just a one-person deal. You
Yeah.
can't affect a group.
Okay, so how is stamina affecting? Oh, that's right. It's only affecting the abilities.
Yeah.
But how? Okay, what is the human equivalent to
Well,
I guess this is just a medic who gives adrenaline shots or something.
yeah, his thing is basically going to be providing healing and damage reduction for the most part. As far as the equivalent of stamina in humans, it's primarily ammo. And
Okay.
at the moment, that's basically going to be something that regenerates. But the idea is eventually you would have a class that can deploy something that any characters that go to it would basically get their ammo replenished in the field.
I see. I'm not sure how that works. That the units could actually, because it's like the melee units aren't losing any of their melee attacks. So if you actually lose your ability to have range attacks, even for a moment, that's pretty bad. I mean, it sounds like when you're talking about the Alethians, all the stamina is doing is giving them skills back. It's not giving them the ability to swing, say, their swords or something. So I mean, I don't see why I'd ever want to be a ranged unit if sometimes I just, I can't shoot, I'm just hanging out here, it's like, oh yeah, melee guy, he can attack, like crazy, he's still hitting me, but I'll just, whatever.
Well, the biggest thing for a ranged unit is keeping track of your ammo. If you know you're going to know that you're going to run out before you do so, and it's up to you to take corrective action to deal with that before you do. If you don't, well, then you better hope there's help nearby.
It's a lot easier to run away as a ranged character just because you're already further away than it is as a melee guy, so there's a lot more commitment to a fight when you're a melee person and a lot less when you're ranged.
So do you mean that you'd run back to base and buy more ammo?
Well, that could be an option. Personally, for the purpose of initial testing, I was just going to make it so that ammo regenerates in a similar fashion as stamina. But eventually it would either be you return to base, or there's another character class out there that can drop ammo off, and you can run over, get your stuff, and go.
Well, sorry, there was something in the original Mass Effect that I really liked. You didn't have ammo.
Yeah, you had weapon heat.
Yeah.
So instead of, you had to wait for your weapon to cool down, so you could just have humans run heat instead of ammunition.
Yeah.
So if they're shooting too much, they'll have to wait for their weapon to cool down instead of having to wait to get more ammo.
I could see that for the high rate of fire weapons, but pistols aren't going to overheat. Unless it's like a laser. So, like,
I'm just trying to figure out how this works. So you're shooting, like, I mean, I think in the games that I played, like the Dota and the League of Legends, like, if you're a ranged person, I think if you're, I don't know, maybe you had to click on something to shoot, but I think you just kept shooting. Like, I don't think there was anything to say, all right, stop shooting. So you're envisioning, like, you're shooting, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to stop for a minute and just stand here. This weapon cools down or something. Like, I'm just not sure how realistic that is.
You'd end up being more like a caster in League of Legends, because like the ranged carries, all they do is auto attack. I mean, their abilities only enhance their auto attacks for the most part. So it would be more like a spellcaster, where you're not really auto attacking because there's no point in using your auto attack. Like, it doesn't do much of anything.
What? What do you mean?
The caster's auto attacks in like League of Legends, like, they hardly do any damage, so the only point in ever using one is to like last hit a minion. And since I'm not sure how important last hitting minions is going to be, you almost don't need to worry about auto attacking at a range if you're treating them more like a caster. Or like a magic user in League of Legends or those Dota games.
Oh, okay, you're saying yeah, but they didn't run out of magic things that does their standard attack. It was just
it was just their major attacks. It's just their standard attack was so
But see, in this one, what he's talking about is just the standard attack losing ability for it, unless I'm not understanding him right. Maybe he just means the strong ability with the abilities with shooting.
Yeah, personally, I think it would work better if it was more your like major attacks, like you
Yeah,
had ammo
if-
for.
Yeah, that makes sense because that would be that kind of regenerate back because that's the same as like stamina. But like, so that would make sense. And if that's what he's saying, then I'm on board with that. But
Sorry,
but if
for which part?
are you saying that that for the like the range, like say the human range units, that the ammo and the cooldown thing is just about their special attacks and not just the standard?
Well, that's certainly part of it, but like what I was thinking is that as far as, say for example, your character is using a rifle, they're going to have a certain number of shots in the magazine before they have to reload, and you can't carry an unlimited number of magazines. So you would have a number of reloads before you really have to worry about doing something about your ammo supply. But eventually, it would be a concern. For the purposes of initial testing, that ammo supply will regenerate.
Yeah,
But-
most games I've seen have dropped any like MMO style games, and MOBAs tend to drop ammo unless it's something you're buying from a store, just because it's a really crippling mechanic a lot of the times for like
Right.
just auto attacking, because you have to auto attack the minions so much you'll run out of ammo auto attacking minions, because that's like the source of money in the game basically. So you have to spend money to get money only on those characters. It doesn't work very well in a MOBA.
Yeah, it really does. I think you're
Like,
taking.
it's realistic, but the realism
Yeah.
doesn't work particularly well in this style of game.
Right. You kind of have to dismiss the idea of complete realism, the kind of realism that you might get in a first-person shooter or something like that. And it's just you get kind of the feel of it. Like it's like if they have unlimited ammo with their regular guns, and it's like I think they should at points take time where they have to reload, but then they just keep going back to fighting. But the ammo just like it's like its flavor, it's like color. It's the same as stamina, but it's just really called ammo or something, and that's so you can't use a whole bunch of special abilities. You know the same thing you were just talking about with stamina, one ability after another, so you can't spam that. You would use an ability and then maybe in another build, let's say if you use twice, right then you go, okay, now I have to wait until my ammo comes back, or it cools down or whatever the thing is, unless somebody brings me like an ammo case or whatever, however that's done, and then just like how the healer gives stamina out, so there's someone who can give a little bit of that out, so you can get like that extra ability that you can use, and so it's just that so that support character can support you, but all this stuff about like having to calculate and look at all the bullets. I mean, it's just like this. I just don't see how that could work in this kind of game without being like super frustrating and disabling. And I think people would just not choose to use range units.
Yeah, like even like the hunters in World of Warcraft, they started out with ammo, but they ended up taking it out because the raid mechanics just made it useless. Like they had to carry so much ammo into these raids that they couldn't actually carry any of the loot they got from the raid out until they'd killed like 2 or 3 bosses, basically.
Okay.
So I mean, it's an interesting mechanic, and I could see why you'd want to put it in there. But like, I've never seen it actually work in a MOBA or an MMO.
I've never actually seen it used in a MOBA. I've seen it used in a couple of MMOs. Those ones, like, it did work, but that's also a different combat system.
You mean like something like PlanetSide or something?
Well, PlanetSide, Defiance, stuff like that. But the
Yeah,
PlanetSide,
those
that's more of a first-person shooter. But
yeah.
there was a mechanic that I thought was really kind of cool in the Left 4 Dead series, where the pistol had unlimited ammo. You still had to reload. But anything beyond that did have a limited ammo supply. It was pretty plentiful. You really never ran out. But
That's not true. I ran out all the time.
Yeah.
well, most of us don't run out because we make our shots count.
Spray
I don't
and
just
pray,
spam.
baby. Spray and pray.
I even look where I'm shooting.
So you could definitely use ammo for their abilities. Like if they're firing some sort of special round, they could only carry so many special rounds with them. But like their generic ammo
Right.
for whatever their auto attack weapon is should probably be unlimited.
And there you get the flavor of what you're trying to get. You know, you go, oh, there's ammo, you know, and then you get kind of a flavor for it. It's just, I know it's kind of an abstract way of putting that, but it's just you have that sense of ammo, and that's enough for the player because they understand that this is not a literal world representation of a virtual world. It's this. It's a game. You know. It's just like I don't know. It's like chess. You know, you play chess, and this unit can just move this way, and that way. I think a horse could move this way. It's like, you know, like, well, no, it's a game, but it's like, but you kind of get what they mean. Like each unit has kind of their own ability in you know, each piece in chess, you know, has their own ability, and you kind of you can see it's kind of abstract, but you can see the battlefield. You can see how it represents that, and I think that's you represent something in this, but it might be more in an abstract way, where you have, like, say you have special bullets, which maybe exploding bullets or something like that, and you those are something costly, and when you want to select on them, you use them, and then you have them for like I think you have them for like you know, a few seconds, however many seconds, and then they go away, and it's you still have a sense of like, oh yeah, I'm getting ammo, I'm doing this, and you know, you have that feeling, but it can't be literal. You know, it's just like it's not, it doesn't work.
Did everybody take a moment to note Sergio's placement in BuzzNet about Mass Effect's description of ammo?
Nope.
Yeah, where it was heat generated from weapons, like everything generated heat, and the faster you fire, the faster you generated heat, and eventually it would overheat your weapon and you couldn't use it for like a longer cooldown.
Well, and,
Yeah, no, but
and what he put
was
in was
there,
dealing with ammo. Well, I'll just read it for those of you at home who can't see it. All modern infantry weapons, from pistols to assault rifles, use micro-scaled mass accelerator technology. Projectiles consist of tiny metal slugs suspended within a mass-reducing field, accelerated by magnetic force to speeds that inflict kinetic damage. The ammo magazine is a simple block of metal. The gun's internal computer calculates the mass needed to reach the target based on distance, gravity, and atmospheric pressure, then shears off an appropriately sized slug from the block. A single block can supply thousands of rounds, making ammo a non-issue during any engagement. Top-line weapons also feature smart targeting that allows them to correct for weather and environment. Firing on a target in a howling gale feels the same as it does on a calm day on a practice range. Smart targeting does not mean a bullet will automatically find the mark. Every time the trigger is pulled, it only makes it easier for the marksman to aim. And that's directly from Mass Effect's explanation. So that was how they dealt with the ammo issue. By making it a non-issue.
You're still shooting a piece of metal, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and that kind of thing, that explanation can work and be transferred over to the skill, no, not the skills, but the abilities that you use, and it could work the same way. But none of that affecting the fire for every second, or not every second, but just the standard fire of the weapon, non-special ability fire or shooting.
Yeah, anyway, it's just a thought. I mean,
Well, that's the whole point of the conversation, is to
Uh.
get everybody's mind working on a problem. So
Yeah. Well, as far as ammo being used to, provide essentially a stamina limitation similar to the Aletheans as far as your special guns go, yeah, it could certainly work that in easy enough. But I guess it would just have to be a case where somebody other than the doc is going to have to be the one resupplying their ammunition. And then if you do run out, then
Could be the engineer.
Yeah. And then if your character runs out of ammunition, well, he switches over to whatever his secondary weapon is, if it's a pistol or whatever. Because the idea with the pistol is, for the most part, it's really only used against one target, but it still provides you with a ranged weapon.
Although, here's one possible issue. I see on one side you have the healer that can both give stamina, which is the equivalent, seems to be the equivalent of ammo, and can heal. But then if you go on the other side and you have both, you need both a medic and
no, I mean, you can actually do the same thing. Sorry, Wolf. I know what you mean, but you can actually do the same thing because Revitalize will actually take stamina from the actual healer. So for the humans, you could say, well, he gave him his magazine. So
well, yeah,
in a way,
I see what you mean. So
just put a bag full of ammo in the doctor, and you're done.
There's a bigger downside, I guess you could say, for that. Although you can't, that wouldn't work either, because then you could, in theory, it depends on how ammo works, but in theory he could just unlimitedly give him ammo, so he could span his ability shots. So that wouldn't quite work. The thing is, I remember, I mean, these games, they're going to be, I mean, if they're anything like other blah blah blahs, I can't even remember what the MOBAs, yeah. The Bobos, okay, the MOBAs, there's like what, maybe 6 on each side. Okay, let's say even if we have 8 on each side, right? So how many support characters can you have in each? There's different lanes, so it's like you're lucky usually if you have one other player in the area that you are. So it's like, who's going to have both a healer, both a medic and engineer in the same lane with them, healing them up. And then if they're doing that, then it's like, okay, everybody else is suffering. Where on the Alethian side, they could have, say, 2 healers if they wanted to, and be taking care of the people on 2 lanes. So I don't know.
That
I
will
just
happen for both sides. You will have 2 doctors on the human side and only one healer on the Legion side. That will happen always if you don't balance the party.
yeah, but I know that, but it's like I'm saying it takes 2 to do the job of 1 unit on the Alethian side. It takes 2 on the human side to do that, and you only have so you can have 2 units that could. It takes 2 units to to do that for 1 lane. So you would have to have 4 units, which would be half the team, to take 2 lanes. But on the Alethian side, you would only have to have 2 units, 2 support units, healers to take care of 2 lanes. So it's like it would be, you could do it on the Alethian side. It may not be the best idea to have 2 healers. I don't know, but you could do it. But it's completely impractical to have 2 support or 4 support characters, half the team support characters um, on the human side.
That's why I said you could make the doctor, so the actual support character, um, uh, replenish the ammo. Just
Yeah,
have
you could,
him carry I don't know, a backpack of ammo.
right.
And if he gets shot in the back, well, his problem. But
Well,
um,
we could even just eventually open it up so that one of the things that you can carry as part of your inventory is an ammo supply that you can distribute to other people. But I don't know.
well,
I can't see the
if
dock
that's
as
the
being a
case,
regular carrier for ammunition, though.
yeah, I know. But if that's the case, what I will do is make the chests have cooldowns on the skills, but not replenishing um, the mana pool or stamina or whatever you want to call it. That way you will always have to count on items, and it will be
Yeah,
the same for both sides.
yeah. The support units could be more um, more about buffing, like protective spells. For like the healer could be more about say protecting spells. It's like just for if you get rid of, actually, if you could heal as well, just get rid of the stamina and you do protective spells and um,
I mean, it will be a very
buffs.
risky move to. Sorry,
Yeah,
it will be a really risky move to replenish someone's stamina. Sorry, if you're going to run out, because you're going to basically neutralize the abilities of the healer. So in that way,
Well, yeah. In that respect, that's not much different though from a healer in any other game that just runs out of magic.
I know, but what I mean is, if you don't have replenishing magic, I mean, if you mana pool or stamina or ammo don't replenish automatically, it's a much riskier move, and it opens up to a more tactical kind of game. But I don't know. You will have to put items in there to help replenish, because otherwise the game will be relatively short.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and it could be like
All right, hey guys,
what?
let's take
Yep.
a quick break for drinks and bathroom, and then we're going to have to move along a little lighter and not beat things to death if we're going to get done tonight.
Okay, deal.
We haven't even gotten to the human side of his sheet, let alone your document yet, and it's
Right.
25 to 10.
What?
So
Well, at the same time, I don't really care if we don't make it to mine. That's fine. We'll just have more stuff to do next time. You know.
all right, but yeah, let's take
Yeah,
a
we
quick
should get
break
over
and
to
then
the game.
we'll move on.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so I'm
Yeah,
going to
okay.
pause it and we'll come back in 5-7 minutes.
All right.
And we're back from break and live. All right, Richard, moving on. Healer. Or no, we just did healer. Human side. Heavy soldier.
Okay. So yeah, this guy, I basically set him up with a like a minigun, essentially. So he'll have the ability with that kind of gun. You're not aiming at a particular person. You're aiming to keep heads down. So that's basically what his primary ability is going to be. It's just an area of effect that forces people to slow down, take cover, except for the staff masters. And basically that slow amount will increase until
Well,
What's
go
that?
ahead.
Okay. It'll basically increase until they're either pinned or until they find cover, whenever it is that gets implemented. And essentially the only thing that's going to stop him is if somebody hits him, or if he runs out of ammo, or if he ends up having to stop firing for whatever reason.
Like it seems like you're literally expecting the players and the AI in the game to have to run and find cover. Is that
Well,
true?
eventually, that was one possibility. And the idea is that would just give them relief as far as being pinned. If somebody's out in the open getting shot at by this thing, eventually they're going to be, forced down to the ground. They're really not going to be able to go anywhere.
Like I that sounds like a first-person shooter mechanic or something like that.
Well,
Like
from my-
I see.
From my point of view, the instant you're dealing with bullets, you are dealing with cover. That's a very basic instinct. If somebody's shooting at you, you want to find something to get between you and that bullet.
Right, and if this was a depiction of the real world as realistic, then again that would work. But since it has to function in the game world, like I think something like I could see it working like it's screwing up people's ability to attack, like they're attacking at a slower rate while
Well-
that's going on. So, something like, I mean, you can't have, like, if you have on the other side, if you have, say, guys who are just melee only, you can't have them just sitting there waiting, like,
No.
and not.
The primary melee class, as far as that goes, those are the staff masters, and those are the guys that I said they're not going to be suppressed by this. They'll be slowed down a bit, but they're not going to be the ones that are stopped. They'll keep coming.
Nick, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You weigh in on that?
Generally, like, there has to be a cooldown on that. Like, he can only do it for so many X number of seconds.
Okay.
And yeah, because otherwise, if he can just suppress people instantly, that's like a game-ruiningly bad thing
No,
to
like-
implement.
It wouldn't be an instant thing where they stop. It's just as soon as he starts that ability, people that are affected by it would start slowing down a bit. And for the longer period of time that they're affected by that, it increases the amount that they're slowed.
No, I like that. I just don't like them ducking for cover that may or may not be there.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. The idea is that if there is cover nearby, and I don't think that would be that difficult of a mechanic to implement.
Yeah, I don't know if the AI would run into it, but maybe a player character might choose to run into cover. It depends on if we're actually utilizing cover, which I think we could utilize cover in some ways, like you can go behind something and you can shoot from it. You can still be shot, but it's taking some of like whatever you're hiding behind is taking some of the percentage of chances of you getting hit away.
Yeah.
So it's just like there again, it gives the flavor of being in or the sense of being in cover without it being a real world cover where you're just down
Yeah.
and safe.
No, it wouldn't.
It
It
will
wouldn't.
be very,
It
sorry.
wouldn't be, it wouldn't be based on ray traces or any of that kind of stuff. The idea would be that if you make it to cover, or whoever makes it to cover, there would be a flag that's set on them saying, okay, I'm behind cover, and this cover provides X protection. And if that protection is more than the bullets that are getting shot at them, then basically they are not going to get damaged.
Well,
And
Uh,
I was thinking
sorry.
more like
Wouldn't
like
that convert the ability to basically an area of effect?
which, sorry.
Suppressive fire. I mean, we are dealing with a targeting system, right?
Sup- no,
you have to-
suppressive fire in this case, you're basically defining the area that you want to cover. And anybody that's caught in that area, they're going to have to deal with that.
That's why I said basically it's an area of effect
yeah,
ability.
scenario effect.
Yes. Yeah, sorry. I thought you were asking about the cover.
No.
So I think the cover it shouldn't it should be instead of like you taking less damage or no damage at all. It's about whether you're going to get the percentage of a shot accurately hitting you it goes down. So it's just kind of a math thing. You're not actually ducking down and hiding. You're just like standing behind something that maybe waist high or something, and so you're just less likely to get hit. Just the percentage, how many times you get
Yeah. Well,
hit.
whether the character ducks or appears to take advantage of that cover, that's just animations. That's not
Right.
really a
Yeah.
big deal.
Right.
But as far as the mechanic goes, it would basically allow, for example, if you're a ranged character that gets affected by this ability, you manage to get to cover, you won't necessarily be taking any damage, and you'll be able to return fire. But you'll be in a better position than the people that are caught out in the open, and they're basically just, kissing the dirt.
No,
I think you dropped that guy.
I would like kind of to have like the melee guys work a little bit like if you play Gears of War, where you're in cover behind something, but like the guys can just climb, hop up on the cover and then like kick you back and then come down and fight you. So now you're not in cover and now you're maybe stunned and you have to fight this guy.
Yeah.
Stuff or
Yeah.
something, but-
Like I don't really have it in here yet, but as far as the overall document that I was working on, that's basically the idea, is the melee character would have the option of just running past this fire, past everyone else to try and engage this guy directly. And at that point, he would have to switch over to melee.
I wasn't talking about him. I was talking about the person behind a cover, shooting a ranger
okay.
behind the cover, like then having a melee guy be able to run up onto the cover, and then kick them back, and then jump down, so there's no cover between them, and they're back from the cover, maybe stunned for a second, and now they're in a melee fight.
Okay. Sorry, one sec.
Anybody else have something to say?
Yeah, I think the cover mechanics are mostly for FPS. I don't know how to implement it with a system that is actually targeting people. I mean,
Well,
I guess
because
it will be done, but
you're targeting people, but there's a percentage. It's
there is an accuracy percentage.
as an accuracy percentage, and so
Yeah.
if you're behind cover, the accuracy.
I think what it would end up
percentage-
being is like the cover would be like you don't take damage from the area of effect spell kind of thing, or you take reduced damage depending on the amount of cover you have.
Okay, sorry, I'm back.
Yeah, you could do that as well, but I think you'd still get hit by other range fire behind that cover, but you just get hit by less of it because there'd be less, the odds would be less that you would get hit, slightly less, but enough to be worth standing behind it.
Yeah. Okay, and yeah, secondary for this was going to be a grenade, just for the purposes of having a grenade in there somewhere.
Yeah, I was thinking I didn't get to humans, but that was one of the ones I wanted to add. Humans have grenades abilities as an ability, so it's not something you have to go buy. You just use it as an ability because that really counters. I mean, it kind of mirrors magic on the other side. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Like basically I was looking at having two types of attacks for a given weapon, and then have something on your belt, whatever that ends up being, and then a character ability, and then whatever miscellaneous other stuff might apply. But that way anyone that wants to can carry a grenade on their belt, and that serves as an ability that they can use in the arena.
Right.
But for the purposes of testing, I figured just give it to this guy as a secondary so he has something to do, because aside from suppressive fire, I can't see a use for the rotary gun as far as targeting a specific thing until we have whatever the Alethean equivalent is of a mechanical unit that would be effective against.
Well, you could also have soldiers with that carry two primary weapons, one on their back and the other they're always carrying it in on their arms, and then they can swap it. It's like a lot of first-person shooters do that.
Yeah.
And
see
then,
that.
then they have the pistol or something.
Maybe for this guy, yeah, he would carry the pistol for weight's sake, because that minigun's probably pretty heavy.
Yeah, he's also has to have something for melee fighting.
Yeah. Well, as far as the specific guns that people are using, essentially they would have a melee ability. So for the pistols, you reach back and smack the guy, and then for the SMGs and the rifles, it would be like a rifle butt sort of thing.
Yeah.
And
That's what.
for the minigun, I figured this would be the guy that just lifts that massive thing up above his head and smacks it down on some poor guy.
You could always fix like a circular saw blade on the end of a minigun, like a bayonet kind of thing.
A bayonet I could see. I would be tempted to stay away from the circular saw blades because that's a little too Warhammer. But yeah, basically these different weapons, while they are ranged and that's their primary function, they would have a melee fallback once we implement that. And the guerrilla tactics, I'm still kind of playing with that, but the idea is that's their, like the staff masters have that ability to encourage people to attack them, and this is basically going to be the equivalent on the human side. Exactly how it works, I'm still playing with that.
Yeah, maybe for the staff master, I know I'm going back, but instead of making people attack him, you could do, you could make people lose target, because a player, you can't actually force a player to attack him.
No, that's true.
Maybe an AI you can, but the player is going to choose.
Yeah,
And
a lot of the stuff
if
it would
you-
depend. It would primarily affect the NPCs in the level.
Oh, yep. So maybe you could make it so, well, you can make it so NPCs will choose to attack him, but any player will lose the target they have chosen.
Actually, taunts are pretty common in MOBAs. Like, there's 5 or 6 different characters in League of Legends that have a taunt.
The thing is,
Oh,
they all characters pretty much have something that's good for killing players that can also be used. It can also be used on in killing AI, but it's mostly most of the time you're going to use that for players, and then they have stuff that which is basically the area effects are stuff that you use for the AI mobs or whatever they are, because that's affecting a lot of different guys. Whereas you typically are fighting like one character, one player at a time, maybe two, but so a direct damage that does a lot more is going to be more effective than an area effect thing. I mean, if you can capture a player and a bunch of the AI in one area effect thing, then yeah, you can do that, fine, But I think it's not that an effective thing against or especially a damaged one, because it's going to be so much less damage. I think it's not that effective against other players. I mean, so I mean, you have reason to do both.
See,
Kinda what
I
I'm
can
saying.
see the players for the sake of, well, being players. They have more hit points, but I don't know. I think anything you use should do the same amount of damage to everybody. It's just the player has more hit points to work
Right.
with compared to the
No,
NPCs.
that's what I'm saying. That's what
Okay.
I'm saying.
Yeah, like I could set up. I could revise this so the rotary gun has a switch power like some of the others, where you're either targeting a group, like an area, or you're targeting one person, and it's just a quick burst kind of thing.
Yeah. Whether it's a switch or if it's another ability, that depends on how we implement it. But yeah.
Well, I was thinking, like in the final run of things, the switch would essentially be the equivalent of a fire selector. So you'd have single shot, 3-shot, full auto on the weapons that support it, that sort of thing. And if you were using a pistol, for example, it would be a toggle between one shot and like a rapid fire sort of deal. That would be a little less accurate, but you have the potential to hit more people as a result. So yeah, I could do something similar to that for the minigun for sure. And yeah, as far as the grenades, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. There'd
Yeah.
be different grenades, but for now,
Area
just
effect.
one, so Nelson doesn't kill us, or me, I guess.
yeah, I'm thinking the heavy soldier in this case is mostly a control character,
Sorry,
a
one second.
crowd control. Yeah.
Good, you. Where you have. Oh, are you doing anything on 12? Okay, well, which? It's already off. 17.
This is my thought keeps going, good radio, but obviously it's not radio.
Alright, no problem. Okay, my apologies.
No problem.
What are you gonna say, Suja?
Me, nothing.
No, you were saying something.
Oh, no, yeah, this character sounds more like crowd control.
I think with that particular gun, that's pretty fair to say.
Yeah.
I imagine a burst from a minigun would just do really bad things to people, so he's certainly capable of doing damage, but yeah, for the most part, his job is to keep everybody busy, whether that's limiting their movement or keeping them around him.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, and as far as the snipers, I think that's, well, they're pretty self-explanatory. They're going to be the guys that are shooting from a longer range than most everyone else, but downside is it takes them longer between shots.
Right.
And yeah, we've already talked about the airstrike, the tripwire, and then the rifle strike. That's basically there as a demonstration for the melee ability. So right now it's a secondary ability, but later on it would be like, you know, when you execute a melee attack holding a rifle, this is what would happen.
I was thinking, what if there was an ability for the sniper to have where they can actually use just just once, but up close they can use their sniping rifle to do, if they have this ability to do an up close shot, like a point blank shot that actually kind of stuns whoever they've shot, if it works, if it works correctly, so that stuns the person for a bit that's right there. So so if they actually kind of save that, they could do that to kind of stun and then maybe run away or something.
Or
Or
maybe a
switch to a
knockdown.
pistol and shoot them.
Right.
Yeah, but maybe
Or it'd be the
if
equivalent of
we,
just like a critical hit animation, where you get a critical on your melee strike and you like stick the bayonet and pull the trigger kind of thing.
Oh, that would be brutal. I definitely want to see that. Maybe I should go see a doctor.
Did you say you have a bayonet sniping rifle where you like
Or yeah, you like have a bayonet fixed to the end of it and you like stab somebody with it, but like
And
the
then-
game
then
does a
shoot?
critical hit, so it just automatically animates you pulling the trigger after you stab them with the bayonet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Critical hits are definitely something that I want to have in this. And I think, especially when you're dealing with bullets flying everywhere, that sort of stuff is probably going to happen a little more often than is normally represented. So rather than being a guaranteed stun, it would just be, critical hits have a much greater chance of stunning people, and then when they're under certain conditions, they'll be much more subjective. They'll be much more likely to be affected by a critical hit. So, like, for example, if people are suppressed and they're pinned down, somebody else comes up with a good shot, they're probably going to be much more likely to get a critical hit on whoever it is they're targeting.
Well, I mean, you could have you could have it as something that's an upgradable thing. So, like, you don't necessarily have that at the beginning, whatever. So, and then you can
Yeah.
decide which one that you want to do. You can do one that's going to do like critical damage up close, and you have one that's it's just about it does damage, but it's not like a critical damage type thing. It's a lesser damage, but it's about stunning them. So it's like boom, you stun them. So maybe you can get away, because I imagine you're pretty fragile. Now I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily 100%, but I think I don't know. I don't know if you need to rely on that or not. But I definitely don't want it to be a thing where it's too hard to actually ever get to the sniper, because they can just freeze you unless there's like two of you. That, you know.
Yeah. Well, I like the idea of like the snapshot. I'll definitely work that in. There's actually quite a few abilities on the Alethian side that are not in this list right now.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them actually does include an option. It's an area of effect that basically makes it more difficult for characters to move. It's like unsteady ground, and essentially the unsteady ground, one of the side effects of that, it will disable the scoped rifle shot for the sniper until he gets out of that area of effect.
Unsteady ground. That's kind of like I have one earthquake. So
Yeah, basically, yeah.
it's
So-
shaking the earth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I just called it Rocky Road because I couldn't think of anything else, but
Earthquake.
earthquake works, yeah.
Tremor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think we've pretty much covered all the aspects of the sniper there. And then the medic, I was going to demonstrate the shotgun. And in essence, when he shoots, it's an area of effect to simulate the scatter. And then one of his options could be to switch over to a slug round, and that would be direct damage against a single target.
Would that be a skill or just
I'm thinking that would
I
be
mean, not-
like an ammo type,
ability?
essentially, yeah.
Not an ability.
No. It would basically be a variation of the attack. Like some have the
Yeah,
ability to
okay.
target. Yeah.
Got it.
There are a lot of games where you can like switch, like one of your abilities doesn't use mana, but it does switch like your auto attack function basically. So I mean,
Okay.
it's not an uncommon thing.
Cool.
Now, is there a cooldown before you can switch back?
It's usually half a second because it really doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not something that there's any point in switching rapidly because it's.
Right. Right.
Yes. Evelyn? There's a gentleman who needs a door open on the plus 15. He's going to take care of it, but he needs your keys for a moment. Yeah. Just for a few. And... Yeah. Okay, does he know the keys? They are first. Oh, you know the key already? Okay, sorry.
Mhm.
Have a moment's peace.
Yeah, I think there should be. I mean, obviously not the initial testing, but eventually there should be. You should be able to upgrade your character in different ways, so it can be can have different abilities, and it is kind of it's just will take on a different kind of function. Like if you want to.
Customizable is what you're looking for.
Yeah. But
So you could like change the basic stats. Like your character has slightly more, ammo capacity than like another character, or
yeah.
there's like shorter cooldowns on like some abilities, or your auto attack does more damage, kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Just so not everybody can do everything. You have to kind of choose where. Oh, do you want to be able to do this, or do you want to be able to do that? Not
Like-
just like.
Do you want to be like the master of healing people on the medic, or would you rather, spend some time with that shotgun, blasting people with it?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think, yeah, it's there. One of the upgrades I was thinking could be an upgrade for the shotgun. Sorry, one sec.
But here's something that the medic could do with the adrenaline shot. The adrenaline shot could actually be used.
Okay, sorry.
The medic could use an adrenaline shot to increase the standard attack rate for just a period of time, a small period of time for whatever unit, whether it's a character or even an NPC.
Or maybe just something to increase their speed. Like
Or
Yeah,
machine
speed.
gun's gonna fire at the same speed regardless, but he could move faster.
or they could get like an attachment for the shotgun that they could use so many so many of their heals as range, because if they have like a dart gun, like you fire like adrenaline into somebody from a distance instead of having to run up with a syringe.
I would not like a doctor that did that to me.
I don't know. Personally, I'm okay with being able to shoot more bullets in a
Yeah.
certain amount of time. It doesn't have to be that realistic for me, but anyway, it's just a thought.
Yeah, we could play around with that for sure. The triage, I'm still not entirely sure how that is going to work in like a final version, but one thing I was thinking is it's basically an area of effect that everybody on your team is aware of. And anyone that doesn't want to go all the way back to base to get healed, or that doesn't want to die out there, they can basically go there, and whoever is attending that area of effect can basically go through and give them a hand. So it's basically a muster point for people that need healing.
Wait, can you explain that again?
So the idea is, as a medic, you go out somewhere in the middle of the fight. It's an area that would have to be relatively secure, but you put down an area of effect, and anyone that needs to get healed can go there. It's basically, everybody in the area knows exactly where they need to go.
Okay, yeah. Everybody who's in there will, as they're standing in there, will slowly get their health will go up faster than normal or something, but it won't instantly be healed. It just goes up.
It'll either last a fixed amount of time, or it'll heal a fixed amount of hit points, kind of thing.
Yeah. The idea is that for as long as the dock is in that area of effect, that will stand as valid. It's not really something that I'm thinking would expire after a certain number of minutes, but there would probably have to be some form of medical supply that he has to manage while he's doing this.
It could even be he has like a medical supply ammo counter thing, and it uses that up the longer he's there standing, healing people basically.
Yeah, there's got to be
There's got to be a time limit for it, or a resource limit.
Yeah. So it could be, if he's got that area of effect down, but there's nobody there that needs help, then that will slowly start to regenerate again.
Or it could be something you can just toggle on and off, and it's just when people are getting healed, it just like automatically ticks down his resources.
Yeah, it's one of those things like triage. Typically, it's a bunch of stationary patients, and it's usually the doc running around trying to make sure they're fixed. So making sure the triage doesn't move, to me, that would be pretty important.
Right.
Yeah, like there are a lot of games where they have like an area of effect heal like that, where the person who casts it has to stand there and like channel an effect. So they have to sit there and they have a cast bar, but it'll only be up for a certain amount of time, or it'll just constantly burn their mana, or whatever resource it is till they run out.
They do have some games where it actually follows the healer, but I mean it's a short.
Yeah, those tend to be like weaker, less effective heals.
Yeah. Well, they just revive over time. What you say? What you call it?
Yeah, it's a heal over time effect that sort of.
Right.
It's not very powerful, but it's always there as long as the healer's close to you.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Right.
Cool. And yeah, revive. I don't think we really need to worry about it right now, but the idea is that eventually you could bring back player characters that have died out there, rather than them having to wait and then respawn at the base and then get back to where they were. But for now, yeah, we'll just stick with healing and damage reduction.
All right. I actually think that could work because say if the primary reason I think to kill a unit would be actually maybe it wouldn't work because I was thinking the primary reason for an enemy player to kill another player is to get a bunch of skill from that skill points. Although it's also nice because you get them out of the way. Now here's where it might come into issue because if you revive someone, you're probably going to revive them and they're not going to be at full health. So it's like if somebody just comes up and revives you and there's another guy right there and then they kill you again, you're like, oh come on, guy, so that could be really frustrating. So I'm not
Well,
sure.
that's true. Well, there's a few different ways that could be handled. I mean, we could take away the enticement of killing another player in that respect by saying that if they've just respawned, you don't get any points for killing them again until they're out for, a certain amount of time. But
There's a character with that ability in League of Legends, and basically he has to cast it on somebody before they die, just so they have the effect that, they will get revived if they do die. And then if you kill that person with that spell up, or that effect up, you don't get any points for the kill. But it's pretty visible kind of thing.
Yeah, that could work.
Either that or it'd have to be another ability where they can stop you from casting it if they see you casting it kind of thing.
Yeah.
well, yeah, we could also have
If there's another caster around, like kind of the anti-spell thing.
Or they could just, crowd control you so you can't finish it, where you have to sit there and cast the ability. And anything that would normally stop you from moving will stop you from casting the ability kind of thing.
Well, probably not normal damage, but if you if a player used a power ability
a stun or something like that, yeah.
Well, it wouldn't even have to be a stun, just an ability that does more an ability damage. You do that to them, then that would mess them up. But you have to have one, if you just use your stuff in cooldown stuff, you wouldn't have the option. So it's if there's kind of a strategy there, oh, I think this guy might be using that, so I don't want to use this yet. So.
Yeah, it would have to be a really situational sort of paper, rock, scissors kind of thing where the medic is trying to guess whether the other people can stop him or not.
Yeah.
What if we played around with it a bit this way and set it up so that your medic is going to go and, get somebody out of the line of fire so that they can get somewhere to heal them. If the medic has a triage area set up nearby, and then you've got another character there to suppress the bad guys long enough for the medic to run out, grab buddy, get him back to the triage, and then that's where he can revive him.
Or it could even be as simple as that's where they respawn when they revive.
That could work too, yeah.
So instead of having to run all the way back from the base, they're just already right there when they respawn.
Okay, yeah. So revival would be at the nearest available triage.
Yeah, basically. So that way you wouldn't be... if you knew you were in a losing fight, you could strategically plan out, hey, let's get everyone back together up here sooner so we can take an objective kind of ability instead of actually influence the...
Well, then there'd have to be some way for the enemy to come up and sabotage the triage, maybe have a stealth unit like assassin come up.
Well, if you make the triage something like an area of effect, let's say, for example, I don't know, an item the doctor has to place, the enemy will pretty much destroy that item.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's then that gives you another thing to do as the stealth unit to go, I got to check and see if there's a triage around here or something.
And the sniper could be the one doing that to the Alethians too.
But I also think, I mean, it would have to, you would have to who could spawn at the triage you would have to either assign that ability through a skill wise where you can go, okay, you're gonna do that, or it would be kind of an area.
It would basically be whoever died at over during the duration of the spell would respawn there. if they respawn with before like the Alethians destroy the triage unit kind of thing.
Yeah, if it was something like that, there's probably going to have to be a big cooldown for
Yeah, there would be a
the
large,
triage.
long cooldown on triage, I'm sure. Like, it's one of those things where you have to test it to see. It's like
Right.
doing damage on numbers. Like, it can work,
Right.
it's just, you have to play test it.
Right. I mean, yeah, you have to be really smart about that because that could be, otherwise that could be game breaking. But I'm assuming that you would be able to do the same thing on the other side with their healer.
Yeah, I didn't get around to removing the revive from the medic, but I did remove it from the initial skill descriptions for the healer on the Alethian side, simply because at the time we weren't necessarily going to worry about resurrecting dead players.
Hmm.
So this was left over as a down the road type thing, but if we can
Yeah.
do it sooner, that's okay, and I can just put that back for the healers as well.
Right. Well, you can put the stuff there, and we can pick and choose. You don't have to like necessarily hide anything that we think that we can do later. But if we decide, if we go, oh, that's something that just won't work, then you can either delete it or you can replace it. We go, no, here's how that could be tweaked to work, and then you could change it to that. But I don't think you have to really worry about what we can necessarily do first. I mean, you should do the basics, just the basics first now.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like it's all stuff that we could be using later, and we could be thinking about and looking at. I don't know. It might be too much to kind of censor. I don't know.
Well, there's another 16 some odd pages,
Yeah.
sadly.
Okay.
So yeah, I can throw that up on C-File tomorrow.
Or put it in anything that's not like you feel like isn't essential. Put it up on another sheet like that. So we're looking for ideas and stuff.
Cool.
Like I just mean like if you have an idea, it should be written down somewhere. Like
Okay.
it
Yeah, I
shouldn't be like deleted or something.
Yeah.
Unless
no,
we go, it doesn't work.
Yeah, I was doing the whole KISS thing and limiting it as far as this document goes
Right.
because I
Yeah,
wanted
no,
to.
that's smart.
Yeah, I wanted us to get through it before New Year's.
Right. Well, you want us to get you through it, but also you want the most important things first because that's what's going to be implemented first. And having
Exactly.
a functional game, you just need things that make each of the unit worthwhile, and then later you can add stuff and tweak it and do all that.
Yeah. Yep. Cool. So yeah, like upgrades and stuff like that. I haven't really worked on
Yeah.
that too much yet, but it's definitely on the map because
Right.
yeah, you
Yeah.
need upgrades.
Right.
One of them was actually for that shotgun. The idea would be that the base version is one that it's like a Benelli and stuff like that. Today you have to load it one shell at a time, but then you could get an upgrade later on that it's a magazine instead of single shells, so it reloads faster. Stuff like that.
Maybe the engineer could have a flamethrower.
Yeah. It'd be bad if it got shot, but yeah.
Well, I don't think it's I don't think it'd actually blow up because it's not a first-person shooter. But
Well,
yeah,
okay.
because, I mean it's kind of like that's another thing that humans can do. It's like, okay, we can't shoot fireball magic, but we can use a flamethrower.
But check this out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
kinda
we could set it up so that, NPCs are a little bit different from PCs. Maybe the PCs can't get blown up in a nice big explosion, but an NPC engineer with a flamethrower on a critical hit might go boom.
Yeah, I mean, I like right now we're just I have no idea what the actual NPCs will be. So I think like right now we should, like yeah, it's possible, but I don't know if it even would work to have that much fire, or how we, you know
Yeah. Well,
how
I was
those will be. I don't know that they would be. I don't think they would be classes, but yeah, that one might be able to have that weapon. That might be some weird upgrade thing or something. But anyway, that's kind of another conversation. What those
well
guys are going to have.
the heroes by default. I mean, that's us, the players, right? So
Right.
of course we're going to have the best equipment and the best skills by comparison. But I think having a lesser version of these basic skills for NPCs would be a start. Like not necessarily having them set up triage or anything, but having, basically other soldiers running around
Yeah,
with different weapons and stuff like that.
I've envisioned it more like how the other MOBA games are. I think I said that right. That's amazing. Where the actual NPC units, at least the ones that are working for your side and stuff. They run it. All they do is have standard. They have no abilities of their own, and I think that's fine with that. But I think maybe it might be interesting to have some abilities on the guys in the forest or whatever those are called. Those the guys who are just the NPCs that are just hanging out i in the in out
The mobs.
not in the lanes. The what?
Mobs.
Okay, the mobs. Okay, what do you call the ones that that work on your side that run out through the lanes?
Well, I don't know. I just called them NPCs.
Okay.
But
Because
Boots.
there's what?
Boots.
Boots?
bots.
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 Sorry, my pronunciation sometimes.
No worries.
Okay.
All good.
So I mean, so you have the bots, and they're just running out, and they're kind of fodder. But I mean, they also help. They help take down the stuff. They help. They're also attacking the towers and stuff. And if you're allowed to like destroy all the enemy bots, then there's you can do a lot more damage to, say, their tower if there's none of the enemy bots fighting your bots. So you can just the tower fighting them, and so it's like I don't know that they really need to have abilities. That's a whole more complex thing because they really.
Well, I don't necessarily mean they need to have anything particularly advanced, but if you send a soldier into the field, most of them are going to have guns, that sort of thing.
Well, yeah, I mean they're going to have guns and weapons, but I mean.
Like a medic NPC, for example, they're not going to be setting up triages or anything like that. Maybe they could do a little bit of healing, but nothing substantial because that's supposed to be your job.
I don't think that the bots attack players until they're attacked by players. That might be wrong, or maybe it's the priority of what's around them, because I know like they'll want to attack a tower over a player unless you're attacking them. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah, like the regular AI for most MOBAs, yeah, it's pretty limited.
But you could have a little bit some more interesting stuff happen with those guys and what I guess is called the forest or something. Those non-lane guys who are just you can get experience. Oh, the jungles. That's what they were called.
The jungles? Okay,
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with that. I'll have to check them out.
I think you mean the mobs.
No,
the
there's the
mobs.
Yeah, in MOBAs there's the jungle, which is anywhere that isn't a lane, basically,
Right.
because that's where you have
Oh,
the.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's where you have those. That's where you have those mobs, and they just kind of hang out there, and it's like you can kill them and gain experience that way. But it's like that's what NATO was saying is like there were guys whose specialty uh, was units who specially designed to handle going into the jungles, and it's like not only do you kill those guys and get abilities, but you also make pathways where you can come in and kind of sneak up on the enemies in the lane and that stuff. But you get you get um, you you get skill from killing them, but I think there's also other things. I think there's items and stuff that you can get from doing that.
Okay.
Anyway, but those are harder creatures. Like it's like there are ones that are easier and ones that are harder. So it's like until you've leveled up, you really don't want to mess with one of those harder ones because they'll kill you. Just they're themselves, which uh,
It'd be like you come up with monsters that would be wandering around the like the wild parts of Alethea. Like basically, you'd have like bears or
Sand
space
penguins.
bears and sand penguins and all that good stuff in the jungle.
you could have things like that. I'm actually thinking I'm gonna draw one eventually, but I was thinking that there would be a kind of a Lethean that was a different, just like there were different kinds of humans. Where there was Neanderthal. There could be uh, a kind of a different kind of Alethean that's still alive, but it's what kind of it's less evolved, and it's like bigger, and it's just, very strong, but not as smart, and so I was thinking that would be a good one for one of the stronger mobs out there in the jungle, and it's just kind of like uh, you know, big dude might hit you with a club or something.
Okay.
But yeah, and then there's like, I mean, in games like this, they have things like wolves or something, and it's like, so we like in the comic that we did that one dog,
Yeah, we've got the Brog Beast, I think it was
the
called.
broad, yeah, so we could have those in there, and things like that. Other such creatures, and then it's like figure out. I see on the Alethean side, it could their AI bots. They could be other Aletheans, just kind of standard Aletheans, but they also could be like some kind of it's like summoned element creatures kind of things. They could be something like that, and then on the human side, it could be all bots or like droids, and so I think that would be pretty neat um, to do that, and in doing that, you could make them all. You give a reason why they're all smaller, so it'd be easier to see over them and see player, the
True.
bigger player units and stuff. So
I think
that's how I've been envisioning those. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I certainly have no objection to throwing the little robots and stuff in there, but I think it is important to also have a significant number of NPC soldiers on both sides, just because
Yeah,
if the idea, if
We
the
could do
idea-
that too. I mean,
Yeah.
because they always have in these games, they always have different. They have the range ones. They have
Yeah.
they have these different layers of ones, and guys, and I think that being able to do little upgrades where you could buy some upgraded units, so like next time some of these units will be upgraded in different ways, and and I think that could be interesting. I know NATO was wary of that because he was thinking that they would then give the enemy more skills, but I'd say that they should give the same amount of skill points, but they just be harder. They should just be like better.
Yeah. Well, and the other part of it is like the lore of it is what we're doing right now is basically trying to illustrate some of the early fighting that happened between the humans and the Alethians. It wasn't just droids and animals for that. So if the entire fight to take over this one town was decided between 8 Alethians and 8 humans, that's not really
Right, but you also you have to make them look very different. So it's like
Yes.
if you're going to make human, it's like it can't be the same suit that the players are, where they have to be obviously inferior,
Yeah.
and they have to seem smaller. So I mean, it's like you could, I suppose they could be. It could be sort of like how they have it in Halo. They have the Master Chief guys who are, the Spartans or whatever they. I don't know what they are. But they're taller, they're bigger, they're broader, they're stronger. They've been genetically modified.
Yeah.
Guys, so it's like it could be that the humans that we're playing are all these genetically modified guys, and it's like those standard ones would just be regular soldiers that would be actually shorter and
Well,
more just that same kind of sense.
on the surface it might be a convention that the player needs to be physically bigger, but I've played a few games where you're part of a team and well, for example, Star Trek Online, you beam down with 4 other characters on a ground map, and you can tell those 4 characters where they need to go, but everybody's the same size, and you can tell right away
Right.
visually. You can tell who's the captain and who's not.
Yeah,
So-
but what I'm saying is, that's true. But since this isn't a game where we're looking down at it necessarily. I mean, we can kind of look down. I'm sure that the camera angles, but since it's one where we can, I believe we're going to have the camera that we can at least have the option for the camera to be right behind the people. We want to be able to see through the lesser guys, and we want to see past them, and like the player characters are the big danger. So we want to be able to not have them blocked by bots, and to really to see them and have them stand out.
Well, as I recall from the previous playtests, it's basically been a reticle on the screen, and our character shoots at that reticle, right?
I didn't do any of those, but I mean that's whatever we did there isn't necessarily what we're gonna do. That's
Yeah. No, I just like the MOBAs and stuff that I've checked out. It's been you designate a target and you do the auto attack thing. But I think initially what we were trying was sort of a mix between a regular third-person type control system and MOBA mechanics. If we decided to keep going that way, there could be something in there that will preferentially target players over NPCs whenever they're in the area that you're trying to shoot at or trying to attack.
Right, but you also want to see them. You know, I don't know. I think that's
That's actually going to be problematic in this game because some of the time you actually want to target the NPCs that are next to the player characters.
Right.
Like
Exactly.
earlier on when you're farming the little minions that spawn.
That's true.
yeah. Early on, you really don't want to waste your time attacking, unless they're doing something really stupid. But you don't you're not. I don't know if you're getting. Do you get skill? You only get skills for actually kills, right?
Yeah, you don't get skills for just attacking the other
Right.
player. You only get them for kills. So
Yeah.
or assists or whatever. So
And yeah, an assist for kills. Yeah. So like yeah, you wouldn't. Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's all stuff that can be worked out.
Well, I
But
guess
anyway, you don't have to be. You don't have to. They don't have to be tiny people. I mean, it's like they can be kind of like up to your shoulders or something. It's just
Shoot, 1 sec.
it's just something so Alethian people on the Alethian side can say see the human players easier. I mean, it's really hard to say because until I actually see what the environments are like and how many mobs or bots I mean that they're going to be.
Okay, sorry.
Until I actually see that, it's hard to know what is going to be an issue, but I can just perceive that that could be an issue and that could be a way to solve that. And you know, I definitely just don't want. I want it to be very clear who's a player.
Yeah,
And
well,
easy to see them.
we could probably do that as far as just a visual difference with the armor, even. It doesn't take much to highlight a player compared to other characters. And I mean, if you were going to play, for example, let's say you set yourself up with a character who's female, it's not going to make sense for her to be standing above the heads of everyone else there.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing's genetically modified, so I mean, could be.
Well, could, but
it
could
it's one
also
of those
be
things
just
we're gonna
as
have
easy
to actually see how it works
Right.
in the
Yeah.
game.
Right.
There's like
Yeah.
there's no
Well.
point in worrying about it till you see it in the game. I
Right.
think at this point.
Right. It's not something that we need to narrow down. But it's just something that we need to kind of think about in the back of our minds. You know, kind of just recognize that could be an issue.
Well, I can mull over it. I mean, there's solutions. It could be anything from a different sized character to simply providing a way to reposition the camera.
Right. But I mean, there will be that. But I mean, yeah. Anyway, the primary concern is to show that they're different, and there is a lot of ways of doing that. But we do need to come up with a concept for that. We are going to need to decide what those units eventually we're going to need to decide what those units are going to be, and then come up with how they're going to look and how they're going to be different. Like anyone that's actually going to be a human or actually going to be an Alethian has to be different. So we'll have to figure that out on the art scale, and whether they're going to be bigger or smaller. That's something, or not bigger, but whether they're actually going to be smaller, that's something that can be decided much later. But we know that they have to be different. So
Yeah.
that you can scale that different can be scaled any height or size. So that's not a problem. Anyway, that's pretty good for today, I think. It's kind of late.
Indeed I do, yep. I know it's almost 2 a.m. for Sergio, so.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, we will pick this up next week, and I believe next week we actually will have Derek. He actually put in a request to have Tuesday night off. So.
Huh?
Sweet.
Well then we should bring some
Do
art.
art.
Well, you should always bring some art.
Should
Get your
do
You should
art,
bring all the art.
Get
and
your,
then
get your pew guy ready.
and then yeah, pew pew. And then following that, we could pick
It's
this.
actually on C file, so sorry.
It is my masterpiece.
All right, guys, let's
So-
get it closed out. It is pretty late. I
Alright.
will see you guys next Tuesday, and thank you very much for all of the work and discussion you put in tonight. It was substantial.
Awesome deal.
Yeah.
All right, have a
See
good
ya.
night, guys.
All right, guys.
All right.
See you next week.
Night.